took the Healing Through Seduction course, the intensive, the workshops. First of all, the workshops that you put together to really help one get in tune with oneself.
Mm,
Um, it brought up a lot of things. It brought up a lot of feelings. It brought up a lot of
yeah.
trauma that I experienced in my youth, and having that reckoning and
Mhm,
coming to terms with how I felt about it, and
mhm.
dancing my way through those feelings and seducing myself,
Yeah.
it changed something within me. I think just about every little girl has their moments of when they're dancing in the mirror. And I grew up, I'm an 80s baby, so I grew up in the 90s. So I
Mhm.
am of the era of, the Fly Girls and SWB and just, that type of entertainment. So I think every little girl had their moment in the mirror of just dancing it out. And then when you come to a certain point of maturity, you start seeing
Mhm.
yourself differently in the mirror, and you start looking at yourself differently. And that's where the whole self seduction really starts to come into play. You observing your features, you're looking at your curves, you're seeing your body change. And that, being taught that and bringing it through the transition of into womanhood, into perimenopause,
Hey,
changing
girl.
things,
Hey.
definitely started to change for me entering into perimenopause.
Yeah.
Um, my body changed. I started putting on weight no matter what I did. I saw that my face was getting fuller. I saw that, the girls weren't sitting up as nice as they used to.
They sure the hell ain't. I'm like, bitch, what you doing over here? You supposed to be over here, girl. When you start going on that side of the street?
Yes, baby, those bra straps got thicker, needed to support these girls. Yes.
Old bra straps like this. Holding on. Holding on.
So seeing the changes in my body, and this not the physical changes, but the emotional changes too.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Having a sense of disconnection, like what's going on? Why am I not being able to perform the way I used to? Why am I not feeling the way I used to? So I go back every now and then and I watch your workshop videos. There have been times when I were able to catch you when you would come live. And I'll tell you something. Each time that I've caught you, just by circumstance, happenstance, spontaneity, I like to call it serendipity, it
Yes.
was a moment that I needed. Each time, the notification, Pearl Noir is now live, and I would just pop on just to, support or to see what you're talking about. The messages that you had in that moment was exactly what I needed to hear. So having your pre-recorded workshops from previous Healing Through Seduction sessions and having your live pop-ups, it definitely helped me to get through those moments of insecurity. It helped me to get through those moments of feeling alone, realizing I'm not the only person going through this. This is something that's happening to other women, to other people as well. So your workshops, your lives, your recordings, your assignments. I think one of my favorite assignments that you did for the session that I was in during the Seducing Yourself, you told us to get an object, a feather, a rose, and just to like tease yourself with it. And
Yes. And it brings up some stuff, doesn't it?
yes, it does. It does. It really helps you to see yourself in a different light. It helps you to get in
Mhm.
touch with your femininity. It helps you to get in touch with yourself. And it's so important, especially in this art that we practice that is called burlesque.
Mhm.
A lot of times when you first start out, you don't have that connection with yourself. And it's something that you gradually, hopefully, develop over time. But having someone to kind of guide you through that, to mentor you through that, to let you know that what you're feeling, you're in a safe space and it's okay. It's normal. It's fine. You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Salutes to you. I'm giving you your flowers.
Taking
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
taking
you.
them. I'm
Thank
taking them.
you.
And I'm hopeful too that, one of the things I'm trying to do now is show everybody this is working. And it was y'all. Y'all were the ones who were like, oh, wait, this is a bit more than burlesque, Pearl. What are you doing? Not just on stage, but what's happening in these workshops. So now I'm trying to make sure you all know that it's not limited to when you are offering yourself to others. This is not limited when you're offering your womb, your
Hmm.
power, your strength, your joy, your commitment to communal healing and empowerment. This can be
Yes.
used before you walk in the boardroom, the bedroom, on any stage, or just during that me time. So I want to transition to the importance of seducing yourself while you are changing, while you're going to through the perimenopause, because I think we all grew up, you know of our generation, where it was like the exaggerated hot flashes skits,
Hmm.
and it's like, oh, okay, I'll just be hot. No, no, no.
Yeah.
Everything about, because I grew up in the same time. And so I also grew up in California and Texas. And so when I was in California, that's when I really also knew about like the white snake video vixens. And I was like, oh, okay, I got their kind of body. And then I moved back to the South in the hood, and it's like, oh, I'm not gonna make it here. All I have are breasts and no ass. What am I doing? How am I gonna make it? And so I've been having nothing but big breasts my whole life. And then one day they were not doing what they were supposed to do.
Hmm.
And so then I had to teach myself how to love and trust this new version while also honoring the old version. And so I want to talk about one of the things I had encouraged you to do was to create an altar for that older version. And so it's like allowing that older version to nurture this version in this body. Because also, what we have to remember, as we are gaining the weight that we're not sure is going to leave, as our breasts are moving about, one of the things I said was we have to also deconstruct where it comes from that we're even having the complex.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, the people who are running advertisement, who are running the world, they are projecting standards that are not, that don't mirror actual womanhood.
Yes.
Like, I want to be
Agreed.
so very mindful with how I say this, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say here.
Yes.
Like, it's
Agreed.
and but if we look at older paintings, baby, it was a sign of wealth and glamour
Yes.
and sensuality to have the full,
Curves,
to have
voluptuousness.
curves. So how has it been doing that ritual where you allow your older self to speak to you, and can you starts calling on your ancestors who were during that time, who were voluptuous, who did come from the tribes maybe where the boobs were celebrated at their natural state, because when we think about calling on ancestors, a lot of people are limited and like, oh, I don't want to bring anything up. Well, not all of our ancestors were downtrodden, y'all.
That's right.
But like our history is not trauma. Our history is so magnetic and powerful that people keep trying to steal it.
And hide it and erase it. Hello.
So how have you been feeling incorporating that ritual? And then I'm gonna ask a few more questions. I'm gonna
Oh,
let
of
you go.
course,
I ain't
of
gonna hold
course.
you long.
So I did create my altar. I chose a photo that I had taken of me during my very first burlesque performance when I debuted.
There you go.
My body was very different.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to the gym a lot more. I was getting my revenge body. I had just gone through a divorce. So I
Come
was
on,
like,
revenge.
yes. So things were a little bit more toned and
Mm-hmm.
and solid. But looking at that photo, I also remind myself that I was at a different point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I thought about things, the way I thought about myself was very different than how
Yeah.
I think about myself and situations now. Now I
Yeah.
give myself so much more grace than I did back then. I can see looking at that photo and remembering the feeling of, I got to do this. It has to be this way. It has to be just so.
Yeah.
And having that anxiety built up in me. Now I'm at the point where, listen, I do what I can do. I do my
Yes.
best and I forget the rest. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So when I look at my altar and I see that previous photo of myself, what I bring from that time to now is not just giving myself grace during my transitions, but also remembering that I have grit, remembering that I have tenacity, remembering that I can do the things that I want to do because I have been provided by my ancestors, by the universe, by God, all of the resources that I need to be who I am destined to be.
That's
There
right.
are no coincidences, there are no mistakes, there are no accidents. Those things do not exist. Everything that you're supposed to be is destined for you and nobody else.
Right.
So I continue with that journey. I continue trusting myself, trusting my body.
Word came to me. And what if this new activation requires a fuller, more voluptuous, womanly, ancestral body?
You know what? It's going to have to because sugar, this is what we got. This is the body that we
I
have.
mean,
Yes.
but again, like, and what if that is by design?
You know what? I didn't even think about that.
Because think about your other bodies. That was for that version of you. And what
Yes.
and as you said, we can look at maybe the skinnier versions of ourselves, but then we can also say, oh, but you know what? You weren't as confident. You were skinny, but you weren't as confident. You
True.
were skinny, but you weren't living in your purpose. You were skinny, but you were in an abusive relationship. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's like, what is this body now? And again, looking back, looking back at pictures from indigenous African tribes before they were colonized, they're free, and the body is celebrated. We can even look at royals.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were not tiny,
No.
and being tiny used to be a bad thing. But we have
Yes.
to remember whatever we might be feeling about our body. Is this really how I feel, or is this how I've been conditioned by PDFs who are running the world?
Mm-hmm. I know it's definitely something of conditioning,
Mhm.
especially the country that we live in. This
Yeah,
type of indoctrination happens to young girls at very, very young ages.
yeah,
I can remember being 12 and comparing myself to other girls and thinking, why don't I look like that? Or how come my figure isn't like that? And now when I look at photos of myself when I was younger, I think, gosh, you were beautiful. Like, you had
yeah,
beautiful perky boobies and your waist was so small. And at that time, I thought I was fat.
exactly. So with that, and then I'm gonna move on. With that, when you are going to the altar, have her remind you of that. Who knows what you're going to see in this body? Now, I'm from the South, so this body right now that I'm looking at is ideal, but I'm from the South.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up a certain way, right? And that's again what we're talking about. It depends on how you were brought up.
Mm-hmm.
You who knows what you're going to see that you don't see now. So allow that version to guide you and to remind you. But remember when you didn't see me before. Is it possible you're missing something now? And allow yourself to look at this new version of yourself.
Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps because that makes me excited.
Right? So I don't want to hold you long. Okay. I'm like a Baptist preacher. I ain't gonna hold you long.
Okay.
So the last thing I want to ask you is if there's any way healing through seduction can hold you now, be it online, be it the things that I'm posting, be it in person. If you were to sign up again, what could elevate HTS for you? Like, oh, Pearl, I would love it if you
Mm.
brought in this thing for us to focus on our body and our sensuality or our healing journey without hurting ourselves.
Okay. Um, During the last session that I was a part of, I appreciated that you incorporated not just meditative states,
Mm,
physical things. You made the workshops tangible.
okay.
You It didn't feel like something that I could not access. Continuing on with that, I think will be monumental in helping the family to grow. When you gave us homework assignments and the best way I can say this is you have the ability to relate to people.
Mm,
You have this vulnerability about you that makes it a safe space.
thank you.
Continuing on doing that, I am for certain will continue to draw the right people to you.
Thank you so much,
So
sugar.
keep on doing what you're doing, sister girl, because you're doing a good job.
Thank you, honey. But in order to do a good job, we always want to ask, how can this evolve? How can we make
Yeah.
it even more impactful? So, do you have any final questions for me? Is there any way I can support you in this moment? Do you have a question you want me to answer?
Um, golly, I don't have any questions in mind right now. Like I
Okay.
said, you feed my spirit. You do. You
Thank you.
do. You feed the part of me that sometimes is a little unsure,
Mhm,
doubtful, scared. You
mhm.
make me feel like it's okay to be scared, but you're going to do it scared.
Yes,
So
because we
thank
can do
you.
scary things. We learned how to walk. We learned how to ride a bike. We learned how to drive. We learned how to eat with cutlery when we used to just put stuff in our, like, we've done hard things our whole life.
Yes. Yes. One of your quotes that I use very often is burlesque is the only art form in which you have total autonomy over your body.
Yes.
You get to choose how you present yourself to the world, and your workshops equipped people with the best information, the best resources to do so. So thank you.
And I thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Again,
You're
I
very,
will
very
end
welcome.
this whole thing shortly, and make sure you're okay for me to post